Greetings friends, my name is Oscar. This is a piece of pixel art I drew the other day. I think it's pretty nice, but some people think it's ruining video games today. I'm referring to this stupid meme that I heard parroted on a podcast the other day. What indie developers think retro games looked like, what retro games actually looked like. Actually. So this is referring to how, when viewed on CRT monitors, old Super Nintendo games and things, but they didn't look like square pixel art. They looked like this kind of, blurry pixel art, I guess. I still don't think this looks good, so I don't know what point you're trying to make. I don't really understand why you would point this out, as if to be like, well, you're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to draw pixel art because it wasn't their intention to inspire an artistic style, so just don't. There's a few problems with this, that, like, firstly, I don't think anyone's telling you you can't play modern games on CRT monitors. Like, you're allowed to take, Hyperlight Drifter or something and play it on a CRT. I'm sure it would look fantastic, so do that if you're so offended by pixel art. And then the next problem would be, I don't know, handhelds. You might have heard of this bad boy. He's called the Game Boy. He had a little brother called the Game Boy Color, kind of the same thing, but in color. And then they had another brother called the Game Boy Advance, known in PAL territories as the GBA. So I'm going to focus on the GBA for now, as it's the one I'm most familiar with, and it's the newest and more contemporary one. I think the GBA and previous Game Boys all had LCD screens. I'm sure there's some handheld out there that had a CRT that you're going to tell me about in the comments, and I really don't care because most people didn't play it, alright? So I think modern pixel art owes way more to the GBA and LCD-based handhelds than it does to the 16 and 8-bit eras, right? Like, yeah, there are modern games like Shovel Knight. So Shovel Knight is obviously, evoking a retro nostalgic style. But again, you can play that on a CRT if you really hate being able to see these blocky pixels, right? But the LCD screens, right, they let you see pixel perfect pixel art, like on these tiny little screens. Like, yeah, the Game Boy, the GBA had like not a great screen. I'll give you that. But like the DS, which continued that like really low resolution handheld, but on an LCD screen, right? That's like another example. There's fantastic pixel art on these handhelds, right? And I think it's just like really does a disservice to these older artists when you say something like, oh, well, the CRT was the thing that was holding up their art, you know what I mean? Like, look at this fantastic art. This is from the GBA, right? And I think it really does a disservice to say that their work looked better on a CRT, and that was the intended way to look at it, and they weren't thinking about their work being viewed in other ways, because that's bullshit, right? They're really good artists. The reason this art holds up is because it can be viewed on a CRT or on an LCD and look fantastic and still elicit these like really inspired reactions from players and aspiring artists. Like, there's a reason why Mother 3 here has inspired so many people to make games that look like it, right? Because the pixel art is really, really good. So I think great pixel art has been around for almost as long as video games themselves. And I think the GBA is a fantastic example of a time when pixel art really came to be appreciated as a style of its own, rather than just like some technical compromise that had to be done and should be viewed on a CRT and nothing else, okay? I just think it's kind of rude to these people to say it's like, oh, well, they didn't really know what they were doing. It's like, they knew what they were doing. They were making art that could be viewed as pixel art or as on a CRT, So yeah, that kind of brings me to the end of it. I think the GBA has just some fantastic art on it, and I think everyone should go and play one. And the great thing is you can emulate it and not be losing anything, according to the purists who want you to play everything on a SpongeBob CRT. So yeah, to wrap up, while I was doing research for this, I found this like really choice quote: "The never-ending trend of 2D indie games going after the pixel art look is getting tiring." And I just love the idea of a never-ending trend. Like, this guy really needs to buy a fucking dictionary or something. But yeah, look, if maybe I'm the only person who's annoyed by this meme, maybe it's meant to just sort of be like a But I genuinely think it is kind of rude to the people who drew these games art in the first place. So next time you see it, just grab this, which I also found doing research, this delightful shitpost. So you're loved, you're appreciated. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.